Hello everyone, I'm Cheng Xinru. Today I will show you a visualization analysis of the World Happiness Index. The dataset comes from the World Happiness Report, which covers 155 countries from 10 regions. The core indicator is the Lender score from 0 to 10, influenced by factors like GDP, social support, and so on. First, from this chart, it's clear that the Nordic countries are still the happiness champions. Finland, Denmark, plus Israel from the Middle East, all scoring above 7. On the other side, countries like Afghanistan, Lebanon are below 3. The global average is around 5.5. So we can see that happiness gap is really huge. If we look at the top 5 happiness countries together, they are not just rich, they are balanced. They score well in GDP, social support, life expectancy. In other words, their happiness comes from being strong across the board. In contrast, the bottom 5 are weak across almost all dimensions, especially GDP, social support. When these weaknesses add up, it's no surprise that their happiness scores are so low. Now, let's zoom out to the regional level to see the distribution between regions. We see that Western Europe, North America are generally happier and more consistent. Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, on the other hand, are much lower and more spread out. So, the next question is, what drives these differences? This heat map gives us some clues. Happiness is most strongly linked with GDP, social support, and life expectancy. Always correlations above 0.7 is negatively related to the corruption, and this makes sense. Wealth, health, and trust in society are key to well-being. Let's take a closer look at the 3 strongest factors. Firstly, in this plot, we can see that countries with longer healthy life expectancy tend to be happier. The green curve shows that the effect is strongest at low levels, but slows down at the top. In short, health is the foundation of happiness, but the marginal effect decreases at the top. Secondly, in this plot, it's clear that higher GDP means higher happiness, but the green curve dips slightly at the beginning, meaning that in the poorest countries, small increases in GDP don't necessarily make people happier. In low-income countries, GDP boosts happiness a lot, while in high-income countries, the curve flattens out. That means after a certain point, more money doesn't add much more happiness. Money isn't the whole story. Thirdly, from this plot, we can conclude that more social support people have, the more happier they are. Social support shows an even stronger connection to happiness than GDP. In other words, having someone to rely on matters more for happiness than just having money. That's why some countries, even if they are not the richest, still report high levels of happiness. Finally, let's look at the dynamic world map from 2015 to 2024. Over these 10 years, the big picture is stable. Nordic countries and a few other nations consistently stay at the top, while Sub-Saharan Africa and parts of the Middle East stay at the bottom. The highlands and the lowlands of the happiness haven't shifted much, but there are local changes. For example, some countries in Eastern Europe improve. On the other hand, parts of the South Asian show dips in certain years, likely linked to social unrest or economic challenges. So looking across time, happiness scores are not fixed. It's shaped by both long-term structures and short-term shocks like the pandemic, wars, and so on. To sum up, wealth matters. True happiness also comes from health, social support, and a sense of control over life. Happiness is not a static number, but a journey. Understanding these factors can help countries design better policies, and it also helps each of us realize what truly matters in life. And finally, I hope that each of you can find your own happiness in your everyday life. Thank you for listening.